as far as
compared to your daughter homosexuality.
No, I didn't. I was saying the same thing. You know how people compare.
Uh-huh.
I was saying a sin is a sin.
Uh-huh.
You know, and just because you're gay doesn't mean. Whereas she would say, people would say, "Ooh, get away from me," you know. And I'm letting her know. The same time, I'm not going to treat you like that.
Right.
You're still an individual.
Yeah.
We all are problems. We all are weak in something. We all are have flaws. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I can show you, you know, you have to make up in your mind. Mm-hmm. You know, and I said, I have seen how I've been blessed, mm-hmm. how I've been helped in certain situations. So she said, Mom, all I just want you to do is love me. Don't judge me for who I am. Yeah. And I told her, you know what? I do love you. You're my child. Right. Another example, Tiffany has a friend. Mm-hmm. He's gay. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to him, and we were just having a, talk. And I said, you loved. By God, I said, you loved. He said, well, I don't think so, madam, because people judge me what I do. I said, I understand. I said, and that shows because they're basing it on the way they feel, and they shouldn't be treating you like that. You are an individual. Right, you know, you are a person. And he told me, he said, the fact is that you talk to me, mm-hmm. you know, he said, I know you older, you've been through a lot, and he had been through a lot. He said, a lot of people don't want to sit next to me or anything, treat me like, you know. Yeah. I said, and then I gave him an example. I said, well, I'm going to give you an example of a story I loved in the Bible where there was a leper, and he had leprosy. Yeah. And during that time, people was just like, they didn't want to touch him, they didn't want to be near him, and you couldn't come to the same city because you had this sort of disease. And this is the way I was saying, this is how people kind of treat homosexuals. Right. And I said, but at that time, he touched Jesus and Jesus healed him. Mm-hmm. And he didn't judge him. He felt compassion for him. And I said, so, you know, people want to say they imitate their Christ and they're Christ like this, but they treat people this way. And he said, thank you. He said, I just didn't think that you would talk to me. Right. And Tiffany said, I said, oh, yeah, no. Yeah. I said, yeah. Because who knows? I may, you know, I'm just trying to follow the Bible standard. I said, who knows? I may not be saved. You know, so the thing is, and so he said, thank you. He said, the point is that you didn't try to judge me and come off on me and told me I'm going to hell and all that. I said, that's a different story. I said, but it's not up to me. It's not up to the person who's doing it that way.
Right. So it doesn't make you uncomfortable. And do you accept your daughter now?
Mm-hmm. I accept her. Let's see. It's been, when I first found, it's been about a year. Yeah. And another reason, there was another sister in the congregation. Uh-huh. Her son was living with, you know, he married, and he was living with his partner. And I have another sister in the congregation. She's had the tendencies. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they helped me at the same time. Right. You know, when I first found out about this is still your child. Mm-hmm. But like I tell people, he's still my son. Right. I don't care if you don't want him to come over or whatever, right. But that's my child. He's still going to come over. So, you know, how you feel that he's more poison than your daughter is doing or whatever. So it just helped me a lot. You know.
I'm happy that you chose not to arm wrestle her into your way of thinking, because that's your comfort. So you basically, that's like having a child and saying, you need to be my puppet. Everything I fantasized about, you need to be. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's kind of unfair, you know. Right. Because I have a lot of male friends that told me about that. I have one particular one, and I interviewed him, and he's transgender, you know. And what she now explained was, you know, she did do well. We went to high school together. She did very well. She was very active, excellent GPA, and was in and out of foster care because at a young age, as a boy, the mother put him in the foster system molested, everything you could possibly think of happened.
Mm-hmm.
So when the mother died, his aunts found him and took him on. He said, wow, I'm with a family that loves me. He didn't want to disappoint them because he already saw the pain in his previous way of living.
Okay.
And they, one day in high school, in the 12th grade, there was a letter from a boy. He knew he was gay, and they saw it, left it on the table for the rest of the family members to see it as they entered the house. And once he graduated, I guess maybe they were arm wrestling too. They kicked him out. Here he had an excellent GPA. He could have been anything. But he didn't know how to be a kid and live. So he was forced to work on the streets.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is what arm wrestling could look like. Forced to prostitute. And one day they realized that he was a transgender and shot at him, and he got shot. So this family, you know, in one, I'm sure it was based off their religion too. So they probably said, I love this person unconditionally. It does state that in the Bible, but it had a lot of conditions. The conditions were, I love you as long as you live the way I want you to live. Those are the conditions, which is really unfair for any human, because this person could have ran any corporation, but once he didn't walk the walk, they kicked him out on the street, and life became rough. So I'm glad that you didn't do that, because that's how it looks.
Right.
You know,
right.
that's
And
how it looks. You could have
used that as, and you know, and like I said, and people will use, a lot of times they will use the Bible and religion and don't even know, they never read the Bible, don't know anything about it, but they use this part of it to say, to judge a person.
I call those Christians with reserved seating. My seating is reserved to only judge you, but not me.
Exactly.
The problem is there's too many of that.
Right.
Even my mother will use religion to judge me.
Yeah.
And I could respect it only if you walk the line. And if you can't walk that line, that fine line, I think that the same Bible says something like, the first one without sin cast the first stone. So why are these rocks coming in my direction?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I have, and during my whole process, when I'm I'm learning that behavior from my mother has caused me a lot of pain. And during my other interviews, I saw myself tear up, but didn't quite understand why. And I kept reviewing, and even now, when I review those videos, I still tear up. So there's some pain that I've been suppressing. I'm pretty tough, but what I'm starting to think is that you can be tough outside, but you should be able to be vulnerable inside. And the bond between a child and mother should be strong, because that's the first person that you make real eye contact with when you come out the womb.
Right.
You know, so there's a level of vulnerability I give to her, where she tried to arm wrestle me in her way of thinking for her comfort.
Right.
This is my life.
And you know, and it's, you know, you talk and you think about it, because like I said, a lot of old schools, I put the older school generation have that problem of my mom still had that problem when she found out about Sherelle. Well, did you you know, she or our cousin Deanna, you know, I'm like, Mom, think about it, but you're judging.
Right.
You're judging. And we both go the same, you know. I said, but you're judging.
Yeah.
That's something that, you know, maybe something that you need to go back into the Bible and read again. I said, because this is what they talk about. Actually, today in our congregation, they talked about having that love and still, same time, but you're still judging the next person. But if you're going to be Christ-like, but you're still judging, it's something that you got to find in yourself, because you're still not, she's not still looking at herself as you're judging. You know, then I have to go back and say, well, okay, Mom, remember, God looks into the heart. He reads the heart. You can't say, and I can't say, but he reads the heart.
Yeah.
Rahab was a prostitute. Rahab, during Sodom and Gomorrah, she was saved because what she believed. But she was a prostitute.